Hello, welcome back to the Rabell Realty Group podcast. We're excited to see you here today and talk about all of our fantastic topics today. My name is Kristen Rebecca, and
I'm Rebecca Johnson. I forgot to mute my phone, so I apologize. I'm doing that all right now.
We all like to share our podcast to ourselves and to each other. But thanks for coming on here. And as you always know, we're starting off with the Monday market moment.
All right. Happy Monday, everybody. So we're going to take a look at the three biggest markets that we serve. And the first one is Alachua County. So here
at those
in the
numbers.
I know, it's alarming. So the current active listings that have come on in the month of March that are still left from, what are we on, day 25 or 6? Somewhere around there?
No, it's it's the 29th.
It's the 29th.
30th.
There's a calendar
29th,
in front of me.
because tomorrow's tomorrow.
Yes,
We have a big tomorrow.
In a minute.
And Friday.
That's right. And Friday is also a very big day. All right. So
So yeah, 29 days in, we've got
29 days
157 active listings.
left, right, that
Right.
have been listed in the month of March. Pending sales from March 1st.
502. Well, you know what I did yesterday to make a 502 of these?
What?
Is that I finally went on and pinned everything in Grand Oaks that have been pending since December. So
Thank you,
about
Kristen.
250 of those. No, I'm just kidding. We didn't have that many, but I pinned a lot of them. So those
Good.
numbers are really big right now. But they're big without me putting, however many under pending. How many is that? 5 times? Well, more like 4 times as many?
Yes.
4.5 times?
Yes. And so,
That's wild.
and these are things that have just gone pending in the month of March. So we only are looking at the month.
We haven't
one
even
chunk at a time.
hit our main part of the season. Typically, it's April and June, and we're not even to April yet, and we're at 502 pended sales. That is wild. Which means they're all going to be
crazy.
closing probably in April, but
Right.
still.
So you have 351 that have closed already. And I know we had a stack of closings
Yes.
at the office that we're getting processed today from last week. So that number is going to be higher because we're not the only office that probably had that
Yeah.
experience.
And
so
speaking of Grand Oaks, may I say, not to cut you off because I think I just
nobody's
did.
talking about Grand Oaks. Let's just
We only have so there's 2 builders we represent. Weisman Builders, which is the developer, he has 2 lots left, and they're both permitted for the 1915, which is a 4.2.5, which is that video that you all just saw. So both of those will be ready by June. And, if you have any buyers for new construction, all of the selections have been picked out, but there's only 2 left. And then the other builder, Weisman Homes and Renovations, has 2 lots left. One for larger houses like our Leanne and Bryson or Paisley. If any of you have been out there, 4.3 or 4.3.5. And then the other one is lot 93, which could hold one of our smaller 1,700 to 1,800 square foot homes. So that's all we have left, people. And then on the 15th, we'll be able to know when phase 2 will start.
Oh my goodness,
And
that's exciting.
Yes. So we won't even be able to start selling until, what do you think, June for phase 2?
I think that's very optimistic.
Very optimistic. Well, selling meaning holding on to the lots, and then we figure out the pricing and we figure out when we can start building. So
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
How large was phase 1?
125 lots.
That's incredible. So you're down to the last couple lots. So if you're thinking about a brand new home in the Grand Oaks area, you better reach out quick because they're almost gone.
Almost all gone.
So
But that's Gainesville in a nutshell.
that's
right
Gainesville.
There.
Yeah.
Let's talk about St. Augustine.
St. Augustine. So they had 65 active listings that have come on since the beginning of March that are still on the market. They've had 85 pending sales for the month of March. And remember, this is a much smaller area compared to Alachua County. And then 56 sales. And they're really just starting to move into their season when people are going to be looking
Well,
for
one of our
properties.
buyers who's over there looking right now fell in love, and it was under contract immediately. So they're experiencing the same things that we are here in Gainesville, but they just have a lot less homes and condos, you could say. So there's just not as much out there, but they're going really fast as well.
Now, Tampa, it looks like they have had a lot of inventory and activity, but remember, this is one of the largest market areas that we serve. Tampa and its metropolitan area is quite large. So they've had 1,017 listings that have come on since the beginning of March that are still active. They've had almost 1,900 homes go pending in the last 29 days, and then 1,500 or a little over 1,500 homes sell or close. But their market's experiencing the same thing. So I think it's really interesting to look at a medium size, a small market, and a large market.
But I want to point out, so in St. Augustine, the smaller one, there's only about 20 more that are pending than active. And in Tampa, about 800 more. But look at that, 455 more in Gainesville, Alachua County. That's a huge number. So it almost looks like Alachua County is experiencing a much stronger market than these other two in terms of pended sales.
Yes, it's definitely competitive here, and we have so much going on. And we just don't, you only have so many places you can go in Alachua County before you get into the outskirts, which are not bad areas either. But then you do have a loss of certain services and, internet.
Like internet.
Well, I was thinking more like hospital, fire, that kind of thing. But internet is definitely one.
I think for us with these pendant sales, what we've noticed, we've talked about this before, are all of the Miami, South Florida buyers coming in. And then we always have snowbirds, and they're not necessarily going to the beaches anymore. They're coming into Gainesville, Alachua County, because we do have a lot of great services, and we have Shands Hospital, so
and the VA,
and the VA, right, popular. The VA as well. But we're growing into a cute little metropolitan area. We've got the Springs nearby, we've got the beautiful Depot Park and Cade Museum, and we still have the Hippodrome. Even I'm not sure how it's running at the same rate that it was before, but we've got a lot of outdoor and indoor things to do here, and I think it's just building us up to a bigger city. Hopefully never like in Orlando or Tampa, but still, we're growing exponentially.
We are. And so Florida Realtors Magazine just hit our desks on Friday. And of course, I picked it up to read it. And so they're working on their stats. So we'll do an in-depth market look at the end of the first quarter where we talk about what's happening in the state of Florida and then the markets that we serve. But one quick stat that they gave that was as of December 2020, there was a 1.8 month supply of inventory. Now they're talking about the state is as a whole because they're Florida Realtors, so they're averaging it all out. Some markets you might have a little more inventory, a little less, but I would say that we're definitely seeing you have about a little less than a 2-month supply of inventory available right now. So it does make things, they're saying the average days on the market, which was 76 days in 2019, is down 11%. From that. So it's not uncommon to have your home on the market for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but in certain price points, in certain areas, certain types of housing, they're definitely experiencing a multiple offer situation within that first week. Right. So just keep that in mind. And as you're looking, be patient and we'll talk about escalation clauses and such in a little bit and how you can get your foot in the door and go after a winning offer. But that's the market in a nutshell.
There we go.
I hope you enjoyed it.
So last week was spring break.
Oh, it was? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh. Well, that's because you stayed home.
That's not true. I went to St. Augustine.
You went to St. Augustine at the end. Yeah. Well, we went to Crystal River and Homosassa because only about 2 weeks ago, we went on a Sunday and really enjoyed it. And so we have a couple friends that live there and a seller right now that lives there. So, we decided to go to Crystal River, and we actually bought a boat, a little tiny boat, right before. So the very first time we drove it was actually in Crystal River. And a lot of people said, don't
trial by fire.
Right. And don't judge me by what I said while driving the boat or in the boat, which yes, that happened. So
look at you driving
there was
that
Mason
boat.
And there I am driving the boat. I did find out that the skipper is just as important as the captain. So I was okay to take on the skipper role. Mason was the best first mate ever. We had great experiences, and he loved it. Now in Crystal River, it's manatee season. It's probably ending right now. But we were able to see a ton of manatee, and there we are coming off the dock.
There's the actual captain of the ship,
right,
or the ship boat, whatever you
of
call
the
it.
ship, sure. But it's a beautiful area if you've never been. And this is the Ellie Schilling, I think that's how you say her last name, Homosassa Park, or it's in Homosassa, and there were manatee everywhere. Now, the very last day, Saturday, there were no manatee, but
I got really freaked
and
out
that's
when I saw
Lou.
this
Let me
picture.
tell you about Lou. Don't change. So Lou has been in Homosassa State Park since 1960 when he came over from San Diego. And they loved Lou. It was only supposed to be like a year or two. Well, they loved Lou so much that in '64, Lawton Childs decided, yeah, she's a captain, decided to make Lou a Florida national,
aren't they? They're
animal
super
or something.
Aggressive,
and
though.
they are, but Lou's pretty cool. And so Lou has been there since 1960.
Man.
So Lou is old as dirt.
Do they know how old he might be?
In his 60s.
Okay.
And so he's don't stand behind him when he shakes his tail. Yes. I did not, but I've heard. But there was a guy there, and he was blowing his hands like a straw. And so Lou climbed that, not all the way, but Lou's nose up, climbed up and snorted back. And they had like a little conversation for a good 30 minutes. It was pretty awesome. But Lou is a national treasure, loves them. There were a ton of animals there, including flamingos, which I think are really pretty, and those were eating that right shrimp. So here's Mason on the boat. We went to Homosassa with some friends. As you can see, those are the Schroeders and the Fetros and the Spivaks, and had a great time. And then, yes, I caught the first fish. We really only caught catfish. But
I love his look of shock,
like she got it. I manifested that fish, I am telling you. And then I manifested one for Mason, and guess who caught the second fish?
Good.
Mason. So manifestation works. That's how you say it. But we had a blast. And so, that's what's great about Gainesville. This is really only about an hour away, from southwest Gainesville. So another great place to go, we go to St. Augustine because it's less than 2 hours away. You can go to Cedar Key, less than 2 hours away. This is less than an hour and 30 minutes away. So Gainesville's a really great central location where you can get to Miami in 5 hours, Atlanta in 5 hours, and all these other little beautiful areas. And there you can see the manatee, during this time of year when it's chillier. And you could see all these other great animals, and you have to boat slow, but it's beautiful. And then you're right on the Gulf, so you can drive out to the Gulf. Not our little fish and skiff, but on a larger boat you can get out there. And I mean, people had great fishing trips out on the Gulf, and it was beautiful. We want to go back.
Sounds fun. Yeah. Now, there was a big thing happening while you were celebrating a little bit.
So tomorrow, Mason turns 10.
Yay,
the
Mason.
Big 2-digit 10. So we were celebrating his birthday there. We joke that that's the boat. We bought him the boat for his birthday.
That seems like a great birthday present.
So we're really excited for him. He's been a great 10 years to have him. And so we're celebrating this week. My birthday is also on Friday. So
Good Friday.
Every year is my birthday present. So I don't need anything else because I have him.
That's so sweet, but we know that's not true. So Susan, please make sure you've got a birthday gift arriving to the office Friday morning. Flowers, usually a good sign. So.
But so Mason last night was like, what did you get us for our birthday? We're like, the boat.
The boat, the trip.
What do you get boys at, age 10? I mean, other than like massive amounts of video games, because that's all they want to do. I mean, it is like...
And it's double digits, so it's a big deal. I haven't had a son turn 10 yet.
Right.
But, he was the best first mate.
Is Susan the only one listening?
Yes, she is. No, she's the only one commenting. And Susan, I know you don't buy that she doesn't want anything for her birthday. So... A ring? Oh, we're kidding. Clint, if you're watching, we need you to start flashing some jewelry to Susan Hicks so she can get some birthday present ideas.
Yeah, we need birthday ideas, although it's tomorrow.
Oh, no, for him. I'm talking about for you.
Oh, for me, it's
for
jewelry.
him,
Okay.
I mean, now you guys said you're doing something special with Star Wars. You're watching it in a particular order.
So we watched The Mandalorian, which was, pretty epic. And he fell in love with Star Wars again, which he already kind of liked, but, he didn't really watch the movies as much. So we looked up the best way to watch them. There's the chronological order, there's the order that it was released. We didn't want to do those. So we looked up, and there's one called the Machete Order, which apparently takes out, what is that, episode 1. But I didn't want to take that out, and that's really the story of Anakin. But they said don't watch that first, episode 1, because that tells you the secret, which, who's your father? Luke. Well, if you don't know by now, Darth Vader is his father. So it takes out that surprise. And so we started watching the Machete Order, but then we realized it was made before some of the last two, which were Solo and Rogue One. So I really think you should watch Solo first, then Rogue One, and then Episode 4, and then go through the machete order. So we're doing that, and
I feel like I need like a flow chart on this.
Oh yeah,
like,
I have been like watching videos and then realizing we started the order kind of funny because we did the machete order, so we went back and watched Rogue One, and then I had to read and realize, okay, that came before The New Hope, which was the very first one that was released in 77 or 76 or whatever. So we've been watching it, but Mason loves it. And so, yeah, we did end up getting him like a huge Mandalorian Lego set.
Oh, that'll be fun.
And who doesn't love Baby Yoda?
I don't know Baby Yoda.
I know you don't know. We need Mari Carmen on here. She's our transaction coordinator. She loves her some Baby Yoda.
I know. We even let her put him in our email signature. I'm always like, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
I did see him in the bookstore. He is kind of cute looking. He's adorable. Looks like regular
But
Yoda,
that's from The Mandalorian, but he loves it. And so, again, it made him really interested in Star Wars. And it's kind of fun to watch it in this, like, new way and watch it with a 10-year-old who, you know, loves the spaceships and loves, I mean,
he got a boat. He's got Legos. Right. I'm like, the only thing I could think of is maybe a bicycle. I'm like, do kids still ride bikes?
No, he has a bicycle, and he doesn't really love, thank you. Thanks for the happy birthdays. And Baby Yoda is the best. But, yeah, he doesn't really ride his bike a lot.
You know what? You should get him as a lawnmower because 10 years old, they should be cutting.
You know what I need to get? I need to get a bike for me because my bike is just so old, and then have him bike with me more.
There you go.
But we usually just run, and then we have a golf cart, so we should get.
He's got enough stuff, is what I'm hearing.
That's what I'm hearing. That's why we're like, what are you getting him?
I'm glad we could help you figure this out. He's got plenty. Legos, boat, trip.
Yes.
Now we got to work on you.
Now me.
Now Kristen. All right.
I'm not a girl with everything.
No,
I need more jewelry.
Room for more. And don't forget that the stone for the month of April is a diamond.
A diamond.
Yep.
And diamonds are a girl's best friend, and there's never a large enough diamond.
You can never have too many.
You can never have too many.
There
exactly.
You go.
So yeah.
Sorry, Susan. I'm trying to be helpful, but you know,
we're just teasing.
Yeah, just teasing.
But yeah, we're talking all about. You hush your face. We're talking all about Mason and our trip. We got to get it to real estate, but let's take a break and watch our middle video, and then we'll be back. Thanks for staying on.
My name is Megan Greene Hampton. I represent Team Kristen and Rebecca at Rabell Realty Group. The thing that made Kristen and Rebecca stand out versus other options were that they seemed very supportive and had a very good reputation. I have stepped from behind the scenes in an admin position into feeling confident enough to be a realtor myself. They are brokers that actually support their agents. They are not looking to just further their own name in the business. They actually do pass along leads to other agents. I would recommend Kristen and Rebecca's team to others because they are supportive, accessible, they are empowering, and very positive. I'm very happy here. I've been to 5 other brokerages, and this is by far the most empowered, successful, strong that I have felt.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Rabell Realty Group podcast.
Thanks for hanging on. Get that off there. I need to baby butter.
Do we want to start with real estate tips, or do we want to talk real quick about the couple of things that are coming out in the Gainesville news?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. This is opinion time. An opinion piece came out in the Gainesville Sun today, and I know we typically don't talk about this kind of stuff, but we would like to hear a little bit of feedback from everybody, because it does affect our area and affordable housing. So the article came out today, and it says, change the status quo with housing. And this is in the Gainesville Sun. It was published at 12:03 a.m., March 28th. I just saw it today, though, so I'm behind. But I also thought it was the 25th, to be fair.
That's true.
So basically, the article is an opinion piece talking about how people don't like that developers, or whether they're large developers or small scale developers, are coming in to the city of Gainesville and taking
downtown
down,
area.
Not downtown,
no, not really.
midtown, and putting up newer housing for students. They're saying that the housing is not affordable, and basically, in my opinion, it's a vicious circle that you can't really ever overcome without some serious governmental change, but we're not going to get into that. What we're going to talk a little bit about for just a moment is kind of the cycle that they've created. So this is my take on it. Everybody complained that it's expensive to live in Gainesville. And I will tell you that somebody that's coming from Tampa that also owns in St. Augustine and has lived in Gainesville since 2004, this is probably the most expensive place to live that I've ever experienced in the state of Florida. And I lived in Miami for a couple of years as a kid. And it's expensive because you have high utilities, high taxes, and the cost of living is just high. And the wages.
By high taxes, we mean
property taxes. Yes.
Also, you didn't point this out, and I don't know if it's on your list. We have high gas.
Yes,
Our
we
gas
do.
prices are higher here.
Yes, usually
Mainly
by
'cause
20
the
cents.
University of Florida bringing all the students in.
And we just have, they use the tax to do parks and different things. So we have, it's an expensive place to live. Living near the university, or the closer you get to campus, which is basically like the epicenter of our town, because nobody would be here if the University of Florida wasn't here. I'm sorry.
It would still be Hogtown.
Yeah, it would be Hogtown. It would be kind of like, like Micanopy, Archer, all those little towns. Nobody would be here. We'd all be elsewhere. So they created this vicious cycle because now we have another issue, the Renters' Right Act, which is where the city is going in and determining what landlords need to do to improve properties because people were complaining that the cost of utilities were too high. And the cycle starts like this. Cycle goes like this. So now the older housing is dilapidated. Landlord must come in and fix it. Landlord will do what anybody does that has an investment. They're going to raise the rent. So now that rent
to cover those costs
is not affordable. Correct. If you don't think that they're going to raise the rent on you, then you are
If they're putting
hilarious.
in a $10,000 HVAC, that might be a high amount. So say $7,000 HVAC, they're having to update all of their windows because that is one of the requirements. They're having to update doors. Oftentimes roofing and anything in the attic, some of the other plumbing, all electrical, everything that's expensive. Water heaters also, which are not expensive, but still the plumbing is. So all of these very expensive upgrades, what would you do? You have to raise
the rent. Otherwise, you're going to lose money, and nobody owns an investment to lose money. So, or the other option is sell the land and somebody comes in and builds something new, energy efficient, but you have the cost of construction. Therefore, they must make the rent a little higher. Right. So basically, I just thought it was an interesting opinion piece, slamming the developers for coming in and doing this when actually they're doing us a favor because eventually they're going to overbuild the area and rent will come down because there'll be too many places to live and you'll have options. Or what it will actually do probably a little more quickly is take some of the outlying areas and take the values down a little in terms of rent and make it more affordable to live a little further away from the university because the students have so many options close up. And not just students, but young professionals.
Right.
So
one thing that you mentioned to me before, like when you said this before, let's talk about this on the podcast, can we, should we, was you mainly said this was right around the University of Florida. So who buys around the University of Florida? Again, investors who want to make a profit. That's what they're doing. That's what they're here for, by renting it out to the students who want to rent, or owners or parents of these kids who sort of want to have an investment property for while their kids live here. And what's happening right now, which we've noticed since being in real estate for about 16 years. Also, I'm a full-on ACR, have been here my whole life other than about 10 years. Anyways, that being said, the people who are buying these and renting them are very affluent students. University of Florida was not affluent before. It is very affluent now, meaning kids that come in here, they're not from mostly poor families. They're from very wealthy families, and they can afford these high rents and high purchase, high purchases for that. They're driving the price up, not just us, not just our city. Yes, there's quite a few things we could do to change this, but they're driving it up. So when they say, "Oh, all the affordable houses are getting out of the area because of developers," it's not just that. It's also because we have very affluent students, and they want to be near campus. So I think it would happen anyways.
And I think it's smarter to have everybody. I mean, the city probably loves this, to be honest with you, because the closer the students are to campus, the more they're walking and riding bikes, which is easier on our roads, easier on our traffic if you're somebody that has to go across town back and forth for work. So there's a lot of benefits to it, and I understand the downside to it. But the good news is that with time, it will bring in more affordable housing. It just won't be right up on campus.
There. Right.
You're going to have to go, a mile off. So I just thought that was interesting. But I think the developers are doing a lot of good for us because they are bringing in energy efficient housing. They're condensing the population, which is what Gainesville has always wanted.
And we're trying to move up.
Yep, we're going vertical rather than
right.
having that urban sprawl, which is way more expensive on the students. So maybe with time, there will be eventually roads that can be redone and things that need to be done. So just an interesting little opinion piece. And we'd love to hear your
about it.
Yeah, we got lots of opinions, but we just don't usually share them. Yes.
Talk to City of Gainesville.
Yeah. Yes. No comment on that.
You can't vote if you're in the county for city.
Sorry.
So sorry. Move to the city and pay those higher taxes, and then you can vote.
Then you can vote for the way you would like to see Gainesville go.
Right.
Diplomatically. All right. So off the soapbox, drop your comments below. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are on it. Otherwise, we're going to talk about real estate home buying tips.
All right. So this is a little one, earnest money deposit. We've talked about this a lot. We have a very long video about it that we need to shorten because there's so much about this. But your EMD, your earnest money deposit, your escrow, or a couple different ways you could say it. It's money provided by the buyer when they sign a commitment on their offer. And it's usually, in our area, it's about 1% to 3%, really depending on the price of the home. Most of the time, area-wide, it's 1%. So if you have a $300,000 home you're buying, it's $3,000, right? So it's held there, and usually by the company that a lot of companies have their own escrow. We do not. So we will usually ask the seller where they're closing so we can make it easier on them, or we have hail title that holds ours if needed, and we'll hold it there. And that's basically used as it's netted back to the buyer. So if they have to bring, say $30,000 in their down payment, it's minus that amount that they have. So already held there. And there's a couple of ways that, you can save it from being taken by the seller but you really have to.
You follow your
default
contract,
right
Don't
on the
default
contract.
on the contract, and you won't.
And
have
your realtor's there really to push, to keep you in your time frames and push ahead, forge ahead. And usually, I'm going to tell you in this area, a lot of people ask, well, how much should I put down? I stay at the 1%. I don't like to go higher than that. I don't want to put any money on the line. And plus, a seller is really not, or a buyer is really not going to fight for the 1%. It is a good amount to put down, but they're not going to fight for the 1%. Now they're going to fight for $20,000 if you put that down. But when there's a fight, who wins? The attorneys,
the arbitrators.
And, yeah. So you don't usually win as a seller or buyer. So don't get too much in the weeds with that. Also, remember Victor was on last week. And I saw on his page, I'm going to bring this up.
I saw this too. I almost fell out of my chair.
He's teaching all around the nation, and every, real estate's localized, so it's very different in other areas. But he was saying, as a flipper, when he's putting escrow down, he'll put it down as low as $100. So if you're a seller and you really want some skin in the game, expect around 1%. Anything less than that, you could try to ask for more. There's a couple ways. It's a term in the contract that you can negotiate. You can also bring, 1% up front, and then, with the first 3 to 5 days, and then after the typical 15-day inspection period, bring another 1%, something like that, or 0.5% and 0.5 to make it one total. But they're all terms that you can negotiate. I just want to let you know, and you can bring in yours, as a buyer, you do not have to put an escrow money deposit down. You don't have to put anything down.
Right, in the state of Florida, there does not have to be an exchange, correct?
Now, if the seller says, oh, yes, you have to in order for me to sign this contract, then you have to. Again, it's a term you can negotiate. So
correct. And I've seen some high ones where people come back and they want a really high one. And,
yes.
Some people are fine with that and some aren't. So you just kind of have to have an idea of what you're going to be able to stomach and do financially, of course. But
it's really hard to lose them.
Well,
so it's
right. But mainly, that's just a term that you're going to hear if you're looking to buy a home, and you should be ready and expect to hear that and know that 1% is pretty normal in the area, but it can be higher.
I do also want to mention it's refundable as long as you're not defaulting.
Right.
So it's only non-refundable probably if you're signing a builder's contract, and that's completely different contract.
And you'll know.
And if you don't want to read it, hire an attorney. Your realtor cannot practice law unless they are also an attorney. So go ahead and hire a buyer's attorney. They're not going to charge you by the hour. It's going to be a flat fee, and they'll take care of you with interpreting that legal document that you're reading. So yeah.
Good. And then
there's that home buyer tip.
Yep. And then the last thing that we're going to talk about today is the escalation clause. And everybody's got an opinion on it. I got my own opinion. Let's hear your opinion first.
Well, a lot of people are using them. I'm even working with somebody today who said, well, when we sold our house in Kentucky, there was an escalation clause. And I mean, basically it's you're writing an offer right now. Everything's going higher. A lot of things are going higher than list price. So if you hear that there's another offer coming in, including that escalation clause, which can be wording on a paragraph, which is paragraph 20 for us, or an addendum. And it's basically saying that, your offer is this one price, and you will go up to a certain price in increments of 200, 500, 1,000, whatever your increments are. And they have to show that, they have to show you that there's another one that's higher so that you can go up to that increment, but you're only going up so far. So I think, they're fine to use. But I do know there's a lot of realtors, like as a listing agent, I don't really care about the escalation clause. One reason why is because if I get 2 or 3 escalation clauses, they're all the same thing. They say almost the same exact wording and the same exact numbers. So then we're just back at ground zero. So really, when it gets to that, you don't want to keep going back. Okay, highest and best again, highest and best again. Basically just taking the contract with the best terms. And sometimes the best terms are not the one with the escalation clause. We've had escalation clauses before where they wanted to go up to 20,000 higher, but they had never seen the house. So why am I going to take that one so that it's only refundable
if you cancel the contract.
If you cancel the contract, but you have not defaulted. It does go towards the down payment or
depending on the type of loan.
Depending on the type of loan, right? So we can get into that another time, Nafritha, but great question. But back to the escalation. It's really for the seller and for the seller's agent. It's really about the contract with the best terms, and sometimes it's not the escalation.
So I don't like escalation clauses. I'm not even going to lie and say I love them. They're great. I find them to be aggravating. So especially when you have like 5 contracts and everybody's got an escalation clause, and I've got to like make a spreadsheet to know what in the heck's going on. So I find it really interesting when I find articles about escalation clauses, which I did in my Florida Realtor magazine. Yeah, I ripped the page out so I could bring it here. That's how I roll. I found this one interesting, but what I found fascinating was the opinions across the country. There are certain states and cities where they said they literally laugh at people and know they're out of towners when they start submitting escalation clauses because they just don't deal with them in that area because they find them frustrating.
Again, real estate's local.
Exactly. So this is in the law and ethics portion of the Florida Realtor magazine that came out this month. And basically, it's an agent asking, she said she submitted an offer with an escalation clause to go up in $2,000 increments to a certain amount of price. And she was upset because the other realtor came to her and said, the seller wants you to prepare an offer, highest and best. We're not doing an escalation clause. And that's what I heard that they're doing in New York, North Carolina, and a couple other states.
They're probably getting so many ridiculous ones that they don't want to deal with anymore.
Because you still have to think about it as the agent and explain to your sellers, like, this house still has to appraise unless it's a cash offer. We still have to get through inspections. And so sometimes it is really difficult to explain to a seller. So I've had them before where it goes up to like, I'm just going to say $300,000 and the house is listed at $250,000. And they're like, well, I want the $300,000. And I'm like, well, all these 5 offers, we only got up to $285,000. This is the price that we get. And they're, well, I want $300,000. Well, it doesn't work like that. Or they accuse us of listing it too low, and I'm already sweating the comps for $250,000. That's how it sometimes goes. But I think it's really interesting. It can be an advantage. I would say I equate it to the storytelling practice where agents write a letter about who the person is, or not agents, I'm sorry. The buyer writes a letter about who the person is or who they are, their family. They include photos. So I kind of equate the escalation clause to that. It's a tool that you keep in your toolkit, and it could help you win, or you could get an offer back. Like I actually like the idea of sending it back saying, everybody give me your highest and best. If you want the house for $290,000, write the offer for $290,000. If you want the house for $300,000, write it for $300,000, and we'll go from there. I'm not a blackjack dealer. I don't like to, be the gambler and the dealer and have to dole out all the cards and figure it all out. My sellers just want a clean offer. And what I find with escalation clauses is, like you said, they don't always take the best one. And I've had that argument with people too. The highest one. Let me rephrase that. Sometimes they take the lower one because the terms are better for them, the moving date, the inspection times, and that was basically how this article was responded to. And it said, no, the seller doesn't have to look at your offer. They can ignore it if they don't like that you use the escalation clause. So I found that really interesting.
That's all what the seller decides.
Sellers decide everything, don't they?
And as a listing agent, when you get these multiple offers with these escalation clauses, it's up to you to explain all of the terms. So when highest and best comes in, it doesn't necessarily mean highest price. It means all the best terms, which sometimes is not the highest price.
Correct.
Because sometimes that highest price is just the wrong price.
I mean, if you have a house that's, 100 years old and you have to have a clean WDO and nobody's cared for the house in 20 years, you might not want to take one that you have to have a clean. You might want that cash offer that's for less because it's going to, you know what to expect. So there are times, but I've had to explain that a lot this year where somebody gets frustrated that we didn't take their offer because it was the highest or they perceived the highest.
Or the escalation clause.
Correct. And I'm like, well, the term was better for the seller. So, but that's escalation in a nutshell.
All right. Well, we're getting to the end of ours, so we're going to go ahead and start our ending and talk to you about our sponsors. We want to thank K&R Property Management. And if you would like to manage any properties or your properties, if you're a landlord and want the best management property in town, company, it's rent@knrpm.com. I don't run that.
If you need a handyman service in the greater Gainesville area, you've got J&P Florida Handyman Services. Phone number and email up on the screen, but they handle remodels, repairs, and maintenance for your Florida home.
There we go. And if you want to start your real estate career or change your real estate career, you can join our team and contact us at join@buysellrebell.com.
If you're in the mood to get social with us, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and of course YouTube, where the podcast is always available for replay and streaming live on Mondays at 2.
And subscribe to our YouTube channel at Rabell Realty Group. You can watch these and other videos on that YouTube channel.
Oh man, I got this one. We'd like to thank the Fiesta Media Group.
Fiesta!
Let's see. We think everybody should have their own podcast. We love doing our podcast.
Come on ours first, and then start yours.
Yes, it's a trial run. It's like it's a free sample. So you can contact the Fiesta Media Group at 352-327-5089.
I like to say that word, the Fiesta.
Fiesta. I know.
All right. Well, again, thank you for joining us. Hopefully, we'll see you next week, next Monday at 2 after my birthday. I'll be 21.
You're going to be, yes, I was going to say, you're only going to be 25, right? 21. Right. Wow. You were born.
I can start drinking finally.
Finally.
Just kidding. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. Have a great week. And enjoy the summer. Spring. Summer.
Might be winter again. You never know.
Yeah, with Florida. You never know. Maybe a hurricane will come.
Ooh, what? Shut your mouth.
All the rain. We need it.
All right. Have a happy Monday.
Turn us off. We're just going to keep babbling.